Hello everyone, it's me Dylan Cologne here today to introduce you to my new YouTube channel. This channel is going to be dedicated to just general Lightroom and Photoshop tutorials. These tutorials will be short, simple, and to the point, introducing you to the basic concepts of image editing inside of these applications. For these first couple of videos, I'm going to be focusing on some very basic tools, introducing you to the core concepts inside of Photoshop and Lightroom so that you can get up and running inside of these suites. So let's get started with this first one. I'm going to be focusing on Photoshop's core feature. Layers. Okay, so what exactly is a layer? When you open up a Photoshop document or open an image inside of Photoshop, you start with this general workspace. And this is a layer. This thing right here. It says background with the lock icon on it. That is the first layer you're going to get in any document you open. This is your background layer. Think of it as the one thing you should never touch. Don't ever change your background unless you're ready to say, I'm done with all of my editing. That's it. Keep that in mind. So, what exactly is a layer? Well, a layer, this icon down here means make a new blank layer. Here it is. And you can see when I turn off my background layer, it just shows this checkered pattern. The checkered pattern means transparency. This layer is empty. There's nothing there. And the background's checked off, so Photoshop has nothing to display. It's just a blank layer. That is a layer. What that means is when let's say I just draw a smiley face right on these penguins. I can turn that off and turn that on. I could change its transparency. I can change its blending mode and stuff such as that. Now, for example, if I was to do this on the background, I can't do anything to that. I can't make it transparent. I can't change its opacity. I can't change its blending mode. It's on the background layer. There's nothing we can do to that. And even worse, if I end up saving this in JPEG, or as a PSD, let's say it's a PSD, I don't have a way of changing this. This is now on the background layer. This is raster. It's there forever now, and there's nothing you can do about it unless you have the original document. So I'm just going to undo that, jump back into that. I'll delete that layer. So what did I just do? I deleted that. When you create a new layer, all you have to do, you could hit the delete button, or you could click and drag this down to the little trash can icon down there. When you do that, it'll delete the layer. So I showed you how to create a new blank layer, and I showed you that you could, paint onto it, do things such as that. You could also add other things onto new layers. Basically anything that you normally do. I just added a box there. You could add a gradient. But what if you don't want a blank layer? What if you want to work on your background layer? Like, what if you want to make an adjustment to something on the background layer? Well, that's as simple as either right-clicking and hitting duplicate layer, or selecting your background and dragging it down to the new layer icon. Same exact things. That just means you're duplicating. And you could duplicate this layer as well. You could do it again, and again, and again. There's no limit. You could have as many duplicates as you want. And if you have a whole bunch of them that you want to delete, select the top one, hold down Shift, and click the last layer in that chain, and then just drag this entire group down to the delete icon. Boom, it's gone. Alright, so there you go. That's your duplicated layer. Now, what happens is we can, let me just use this. I haven't shown you this, so don't worry if you don't know what this is. Let's say I just wanted to add some shadow there. And then some shadow right there. And then let's add some highlights somewhere. Let's just brighten them up. Right there. And now see, if you were doing this on your background layer, you'd be done for. The Photoshop police would kick down your door and arrest you because you couldn't do anything about it. It would be gone forever. It'd be stuck there, and you'd save and you'd close and you'd be like, oh, well, now I have to go back and re-edit it. And you open it up and it's It's on there, and there's nothing you can do about it. But because we did this on a duplicate layer, what we can do is we could just turn it off and turn it back on. Turn it off, turn it back on. And it's as simple as that. Let's say I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh, that's too strong. I overdid it. I could just lower the opacity. And opacity is just a fancy word for how visible it is. It's transparency. So when opacity is at 100, the layer is completely visible. When opacity is at 0, it's completely transparent. Any value in between is just its transparency compared to the layers underneath it. So you know what? I'll set that to 50 or 49. Okay, Photoshop, you can do that. And yeah, that's that. So what else can you do with layers? Well, there's these things, these fancy little things called blending modes, which is what this is, this little doodad up here. When you create a new layer, it's going to say normal, and that's probably what you want. You want a normal layer. You don't want some weird mutated layer. And there's a whole variety of these things, and I'm not going to go into detail on what each one does per se, but I'll just give you some examples of the best ones and what I usually use if I'm just doing image editing. So first one, most important one, is overlay. Ooh, look at that. That contrast. Okay, so what overlay does, what you have to know about overlay, it's just contrast. What it's doing is any area that's a shadow on this layer that matches up with an area that's a shadow on the bottom layer gets multiplied. What I mean by multiplied is it gets darker. But that's all you really have to worry about. Any area that's light on this and is also light on this, any areas that are highlights, and when you set it to overlay, it takes those highlights and it screens them. It boosts them up and you get contrast. Boom. That's overlay. Think of soft light as like an overlay diet. It's just, a little less intense. Hard light is the coked out cousin of overlay. So yeah, when you're looking for something punchy, hard light. Vivid light is, you were binging and you probably have to go to rehab. What else? What else is good? Screen, like I said, brighten, multiply, darken. And yeah, those are blending modes. And you know what? I think that's all we have to know about layers. So just to recap before we jump into the next video, this is your background layer. Don't ever do anything to it. Don't do a thing. If you do, I'll find you. So then you since you never want to do anything on this background layer, you have to duplicate it if you ever want to do anything to that background layer. And now look, you can do things onto this without a worry of ruining your image because it's on its own layer. Also, with those layers, you have access to something called blending modes. They're quick ways to add effects onto your images just using layers. And that's really all there is to it, folks. That's a layer. Now, in my next tutorial, I'm going to go into something just a tiny bit more advanced, but also a million times more useful, and something that will finally make layers worthwhile to you. You see, because if we were to just simply paint black onto this, and then, you know what, but we still want some of that black there, right? We still want to show that and use the eraser tool. Oh, now let's say I add black to the background there. Do you see the issue? Do you see the issue there? You know what? Let me make that white. I can't now add this back. Like, I can't go in and be like, oh, I didn't mean to erase some of that. Let me just, add some more into there. It's gone forever. So, to get around that foreverness, in my next video, I'm going to be covering layer masks. Photoshop's coolest, most awesome non-destructive editing tool available. And in that video, you'll be happy. So yeah, that's really it. There's your layers for you. Welcome to my new channel. If you have any questions, just post them below in the diggity-doo comment box and you're good to go. So next video tutorial should hopefully be up soon. Thank you so much for watching.